Nowadays, Equilibrium is regarded as an iconic movie. However, the movie's release was a box office failure despite its relatively low budget. This seems to be what happens to many excellent projects that later become iconic. Nevertheless, their failures stem from completely different reasons. Equilibrium had different goals and possibilities than, say, Fight Club or Blade Runner, neither of which managed to find success in theaters. Equilibrium was directed by Kurt Wimmer. In the mid-90s, this guy directed a B-movie called One Tough Bastard, with Brian Bosworth as the lead. The movie was released direct-to-video but failed to find its audience. Following that, Wimmer shifted his focus to scriptwriting. His scripts for Sphere, The Thomas Crown Affair, and Relative Fear paved the way for him to direct Equilibrium. Wimmer got the chance to direct Equilibrium with his script, all thanks to Miramax and the infamous Harvey Weinstein, whose name is now tarnished. The movie's budget was insignificant compared to the genre's standards. Yet Wimmer was content and hoped to save a lot on filming locations. The movie's small scale and unknown director made it challenging to find actors. No matter which actor Wimmer approached, they immediately refused the offer, sending him away. The only one who showed interest in the project and agreed to play the main role was Christian Bale. Although Bale was not a star at the time, he had some fame, so his presence in the cast was a success for such a small project. But Wimmer didn't celebrate for too long. Bale faced a problem with filming schedules, as he was busy with the movie Laurel Canyon, being shot in the US. Bale left Equilibrium, and Kurt Wimmer selected Dominic Purcell to take his place. Many people now know this guy from the TV series Prison Break, where he played one of the two main characters, Lincoln Burrows. This was great luck for Wimmer, but not for Purcell. While the director was busy looking for cheap filming locations in Europe, Christian Bale completed work on Laurel Canyon. The filming of his next project, Reign of Fire, was to take place in Ireland and the UK, not too far from the locations Wimmer found in Germany and Italy for Equilibrium. This meant that Bale could work on two movies at the same time, easily moving between countries. Dominic Purcell was quickly replaced, but he did make a brief appearance early in the movie. Another lucky find for Equilibrium was Sean Bean. Bean refused the role for a whole year, but when he learned that Christian Bale would play the lead, he finally accepted the director's offer. When this happened, the filming for Equilibrium was already in full swing. By the way, there was another actor the movie could have benefited from. Rumor has it that Daniel Radcliffe auditioned to play Christian Bale's character's son, but Wimmer thought he looked too young for the role and turned him down. It's hard to say if little Harry Potter could have brought more attention to Equilibrium at the time. Perhaps Wimmer would have cast Radcliffe in the role if he had known in advance about the upcoming success of the first Harry Potter movie. But when Radcliffe was rejected, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was in the early stages of production, and nobody could have predicted the success it would achieve. According to Kurt Wimmer, working on Equilibrium was exhausting. They were constantly short on money, and they also had to reschedule filming to fit many actors' schedules. All this disrupted many plans and led to unexpected expenses. Initially, the crew wanted to use a few tricks from The Matrix, but due to budget limitations, they decided to shoot the movie without using any wires. In addition, they had to give up on the movie's special effects, since there was simply no money for them. Sometimes things got ridiculous. For example, the main character's wife was played by two different actresses. The crew simply lost track of Alexa Summer after they filmed her in one of the scenes. The actress did not want to act out of sheer enthusiasm and left the set. Alexa's face was barely visible in the footage, so the filmmakers decided not to reshoot it and avoid wasting their already limited budget. Instead, they found a new actress to play the remaining scenes. The actress whose face was clearly visible to the audience was Maria Pia Calzone. The studio's test screenings were a disaster. Due to strong negative audience feedback, Miramax decided not to bet on the movie's box office success. Instead, the studio opted to sell the movie's distribution rights to various regional distributors. It is a common practice in Hollywood, especially for small studios that do not have their branches around the world. The studio sold Equilibrium, returning almost all of the $20 million spent on its production. Then Miramax decided to release the movie in the US without spending any money on advertising, which didn't impress the audience either. The theatrical release was limited, with only 301 theaters showing the movie. Naturally, all this didn't result in great box office numbers. Seeing the lack of public interest, Miramax withdrew Equilibrium from distribution to avoid unnecessary expenses. Equilibrium earned $1 million during its only week in American theaters, and it grossed another $4 million in the worldwide box office. The videotape and DVD release of Equilibrium quickly made the movie a hit, bringing in over $40 million for the studio. As a result, the disastrous Equilibrium worked in Christian Bale's favor. As for Kurt Wimmer, he couldn't make use of the popularity he gained from the movie's release in the media. The director carefully considered his next project before settling on Ultraviolet. However, the $30 million movie, like Equilibrium, was met with harsh criticism from the press and bombed at the box office. The only difference was that, in the case of Ultraviolet, the general public agreed with critics. Wimmer claims that when he was removed from editing, the studio ruined the project and turned it into a mindless action movie. He says the movie was originally over 2 hours long and more emotionally driven, but the studio cut it down to 120, emphasizing action. After such a frustrating failure, Wimmer gave up directing and focused solely on script writing. Some of the movies he wrote scripts for include Street Kings, Law-Abiding Citizen, and Salt. Despite the tragedy of the situation, this man deserves credit for giving the world an excellent science fiction. Thank you so much for watching, subscribe, and stay tuned.